Hello, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. Welcome, Blue Jackets fans and hockey fans alike. I am your captain speaking. Welcome to the podcast, and let's dive into some hockey content. The NHL has talked about their plan for the upcoming season, and it seems that it could be completely different from what's happened compared to the end of last season post-COVID. As you all know, last year, the last 24 teams that made it to the qualifying round this past season only played in Toronto and Edmonton, and the Islanders and the Stars ended up joining the Golden Knights, or the Islanders and the Lightning, ended up joining the Stars and Golden Knights in Edmonton for the conference finals. However, NFL, this is not NFL talk, NHL talk. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman has said that he would never expect players to stay in a bubble for a full season. So what does it mean for the upcoming season? Apparently, if teams do play in bubbles, it'll only be for 10 to 12 days, and players will be able to go home for a week so they can be with their families. Bettman had an interesting quote when he said, quote, "It's not going to be quite as effective as a bubble, but what we can think if we go this route, minimize the risks to its extent practical and sensible." So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. So I think one thing that I think it's really weird about this is basically Gary Bettman has stated that he thinks that this isn't going to be as effective as last year. I don't know how effective he thinks that it's going to end up being, but it's kind of worrisome that he says already we don't think this is going to be as effective as last year, because if it's anything like some of the other sports, it's going to be an issue. Apparently November 1st still does seem to be the start date for the NHL, but I have a feeling that that's going to change. The AHL has moved its start date back to February 5th. One thing that I want to talk about yet is the issue we haven't talked about, which is the border. And really right now there is a travel restriction on non-essential travel from the US and Canadian border. Obviously we're not going to move all... This is a quote by Gary Bettman. Quote, "Obviously we're not going to move all 7 Canadian franchises south of the 49th parallel, and so we have to look at alternative ways to play. So I'm thinking the divisions will be realigned, and I think there will be an all-Canadian division. So this could be really interesting. Personally, for me, it works out pretty well because we already have a division that's got 7 teams, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. Seems like they're going to be doing something that's a little bit different." Gary Bettman was quoted as saying, "It may be that we're better off, particularly if we're playing a reduced schedule, which we're going to be contemplating, keeping it geographically centric, more division-based, and realigning again on a temporary basis to deal with travel issues." So basically, when I hear that, I think that it's guaranteed that we're going to have new divisions at least for a year. However, as Bettman has stated, that these new divisions are only temporary. I think the thing that we're going to have to think about here is it's probably going to end up being a shortened division. I think that 48 games is probably not a shortened division, a shortened schedule. 48 games seems really likely. In the 94-95 lockout, they played 48 games, and then in the 2012-13 lockouts, they also played 48 games. Personally, I think that it's going to end up being a 48-game schedule or something shorter. They seem to like that a lot. I can't see them playing 82 games. It also appears that Gary Bettman wants the league to get back on a normal schedule, which I think is a good thing. And finally, this is a short video. We just wanted to make it short, nice, to the point. Not really a lot of news going on. I'm going to start a series probably next week if there is not a lot of news going on. But anyway, I just want to say, Gary Bettman has said he's talked with the MLB commissioner, Rob Manfred, when baseball is going on, and talked to him about their procedures. Personally, I think if you're going to do anything, don't do what Rob Manfred did with baseball, because they were way too lax with stuff. And if you look at it, players were going to strip clubs, they were going to bars, they were going fishing together, they were running wild, if I'm being completely honest. So if you want to talk about anything, I think that whatever they did for baseball you shouldn't do. They personally should make it to where you could get suspended for the season if you get caught going out and about. Because at the end of the day, these players for baseball ended up almost costing the season for Major League Baseball. And I think it's going to be an interesting year. One thing I will say is, luckily the divisions aren't going to be permanent, so you're not going to have to get used to this stuff. But, you have to think about this. There's probably going to be an all-Canadian division. There's probably going to be some weird divisions lined up, drawn up, and it's probably going to be a shortened schedule. So if you're more of a traditionalist that's not going to be a fan of this, you might not want to watch this. But I just want to let you know that it's probably going to be one of those deals where it's probably going to be a shortened season. We could have some cancellations due to COVID, and the divisions are going to be all out of whack. And you're going to have teams that have never played together like that. It's going to be a weird, wacky year. Who knows if we'll even get fans in the stands? I hope so. But anyway, that's going to be it for the video. Thank you. Everybody stay safe from COVID, and I'll see you Sunday. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes, and hockey fans in general. This is your captain signing off. Have a great week.